chat all the
Looks
time.
great.
KGYM in Iowa City in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. His first appearance ever on the BVB. Look at him flashing. I can't see you. Well, I can see you, Todd, and it's good to see you. How are you?
Glasses.
I'm great. What are we talking about today? The Masters?
Oh, maybe a little bit. I mean, we
Eh.
can get to that in a minute.
Mets Brewers?
Good game. That's
Yeah.
later in the show.
We're gonna discuss that. I got to deal with this Boston versus Pittsburgh actual head-to-head series. Bruins beat the Penguins over the weekend. I got to discuss that. But Todd, did you watch the basketball game yesterday? Were you one of the 3 people in Iowa that did not watch the basketball game yesterday?
I watched from start to finish. And if I am the NCAA, I am sending Angel Reese a thank you note today.
Amen.
Because everybody is talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and nobody is talking about the shit show that was the officiating.
Amen.
Aha.
I agree. I thought
How
the
did
same
you
thing.
know? Because you sent me the text that Iowa wasn't winning. How did you know so early in the game, like right even before it started?
I saw that line open up. When it opened as Iowa is a 1.5 point favorite, I thought the honey trap was set because you had a lot of people that watched Caitlin Clark and Iowa take down South Carolina, and America was not going to bet against Caitlin Clark yesterday. I told everybody that was asking me about that game, LSU was the side.
I put it. I'll admit I subscribed to I jumped in 2 times. I took a money line parlay of Iowa and UConn both to win at plus 150, lost that. And then I took plus 15.5 in game, and that banked in 3 at the end, killed me.
Oh,
banked in 3. Hail Mary, fade away, banked in 3, fell 17. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. So I was part of it. I subscribed to it. I bought in. I was like, come on, they're not gonna lose by 15.5 points. What did you make of the way the officiating was done to either coach? That you allowed one coach basically to be on the floor, physically making contact with the officials.
Strange.
And on the other side, if you looked kind of crooked at the officials, Iowa was getting warnings and tees being thrown at them.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kim Mulkey has been doing this since she was at Baylor. She's pretty notorious. And Tom Izzo gets a lot of flack for intimidating officials on the men's side, but there's coaches on the women's side that can intimidate officials too, and Mulkey's one of them. Lisa Bluter said after the game that she felt like she couldn't have a dialogue with the officials, and I think that's problematic because you got to be able to talk to the officials as the game is going on. The bottom line is, as I was watching that game, all I could think of was it the 2000, what year was the All-Star game in Milwaukee when it tied, when they ran out of players?
Oh, the baseball game. Oh,
that's what right. I was thinking. Like, nobody wants to see the national championship game come down to the non-star players.
Right.
And the officiating put both teams in a bad spot yesterday, in my opinion. LSU deserved to win the game. Don't get me wrong. But the story to me was, how can the officiating be that bad in a national championship game? And then it gets completely overshadowed by all of the other stuff afterwards.
Well, all the other stuff afterward is that what people are talking about there? And is that what you're going to be talking about later on your radio show? Is all the other stuff? What's the takeaway after the officiating today in Iowa?
Well, I'm going to be talking about how I was on the BVB today.
Yes!
On the radio show. Yeah, I think people are still going to focus on the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark stuff, and the officiating is what it is at this point. But to me, that's the story, and it didn't affect one team; it affected both teams. I don't think Kim Mulkey and LSU were happy about how the game was officiated. She said at halftime, "Look, if they're we're either going to be physical or they're going to let them play, and we'll be physical if we need to." So I think what also lost in the story here is LSU was able to do what South Carolina couldn't against Iowa, and that was play defense, even though they gave up 85 points.
It was more like I felt like they had a much better game plan on Caitlin Clark, which was obvious. I mean, anyone with that said, I don't know what South Carolina and Don Stanley was thinking about. Let's see if Caitlin Clark can beat us. Yep, she beat you. So I don't think that was really wise. And LSU was not going to make the same mistake that South Carolina made. But now that an Iowa team has played for a national championship, what does this do on campus? What does this do to the football program? Because I like calling Ferentz 8-4 Ferentz. What does this do for the basketball program where you have, Fran McCaffrey is not my favorite person on the planet, who tends to lose his mind half the time. You guys have actual scales of Fran McCaffrey, DEFCON 1, DEFCON 9, in terms of FranCon 1 and FranCon 9. What does this do on campus that the women's program played for a title?
I think it says something that I question myself as to whether or not it was ever possible for an Iowa team outside of the wrestling program, but for an Iowa team to ever play for a national title, to be in the national championship game, because it always seemed like just impossible. You go back 1980, people like to talk about the 1980 men's team with Ronnie Lester, and he hurt his knee. And if he doesn't hurt his knee, maybe they're in the championship game that year. It's so difficult at a place as small as Iowa with limited resources. And I say that somewhat tongue in cheek, because they're going to get $100 million check every year from the Big Ten with the TV rights deal.
$100 million?
Yeah. It's like when you win the lottery and they give, cash for life. That's the TV deal that the Big Ten has.
Right.
So they do have resources, obviously, but they're not Ohio State. They're not Michigan. They're not the blue blood programs, but it shows that an Iowa program can get to. Look, we're going to watch a national championship game tonight with San Diego State.
Right.
If San Diego State on the men's side can get to the championship game, why not Iowa? Why not us? That was the motto that Lisa Bluter and the women kind of adopted before the South Carolina game, was why not us? And they came close.
Speaking of the game tonight, San Diego State is getting 7 points. Totals 132.5. It's going up in a couple places right now, 133. You got an opinion? Brommelkamp, side, total, anything in the game? No, you have no opinion?
Nobody wants to hear. I give the kiss of death. I gave the kiss of death to South Carolina on Friday.
That's okay. You can give us the kiss of death. We got a lot of people. The chat's flowing. People might be curious to know what you think. I'm just saying.
I look at San Diego State, and Matt, I've been doing the same thing for the last 3 weeks. South Dakota State. I see SDSU on my bracket, and I think South Dakota State. So go Jackrabbits.
Is that an Iowa thing? What are you guys
South
doing?
Dakota is Sioux City, Iowa. It's right. It's right in the same geographical area.
Okay.
I have been so impressed with UConn and what UConn has been able to do that I would be very hard pressed to bet against them. But 7.5 in a national championship game, to me, that's a lot of points. Brian Dutcher, good coach, who recruited the Fab Five at Michigan with Steve Fisher. Brian Dutcher. This guy can coach. This guy can recruit. They're good defensively. But I just don't. UConn size scares me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit back and just enjoy a national championship game tonight.
Smart. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think so many people now that betting is legal feel like they have to be committed. Like you have to bet this. You don't have to bet tonight. You don't have to. You just watch the game, enjoy it. If there's a side or there's value on one side or the other in game, jump in and be a part of it that way. But you don't have to bet it in game. Or pre-game. You can bet it in game. What does Caitlin Clark in the pantheon of athletes at Iowa? Where is she going to go down? Like if she goes back to the championship game and wins it next year, which is very possible because she's coming back, right?
Top of the list. Ahead of Chuck Long and everything, right?
Caitlin Clark goes down number 1, the greatest athlete in Iowa ever.
So I said this, and I can go back and I can find this from a couple weeks ago on the show, but before they even got too deep into the tournament, I said she was already number 1.
Wow.
They will never, there is not an athlete at Iowa, past, present, or future.
Hasn't there been like wrestlers that have won 4 national championships at Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go bring the wrestlers in, that's fine. Niall Kinnock won a Heisman Trophy. A lot of people think if he wouldn't have died in a plane crash, he could have been president of the United States.
Wow.
That's all fine and dandy. Caitlin Clark is the single best athlete to ever put on an Iowa uniform, and I will go to my grave saying that.
Wow.
How about that?
And she's going to make a lot of money coming back to college. Like, she's going to make some
2
NIL
years.
money.
She can come back. So she's got next year, but she's also got the second year of eligibility, the COVID year.
COVID year.
And she could, in theory, she could make more money in that second year than she'd make going to the WNBA because of NIL. So there's a lot of people around here that are optimistic that they've got 2. I wouldn't bank on the 2 years. I would celebrate and enjoy next year.
Right.
You have next year for sure.
Right.
But she could play 2 more years if she wanted to. And if you're Lisa Bluter and the Hawkeyes, you got to take advantage of that, because is there not a player in the country right now, either in the transfer portal or a high school recruit, that wouldn't want to come play with arguably one of the greatest college basketball players of all time?
She's the greatest. I mean, everyone gets caught up in the shot, the Steph Curry range, which is amazing, right? That's the highlight reel.
It's the passing.
Yeah. The separator to me is the vision. I mean, she has vision unlike any women's basketball player, and I've been watching it for 20 plus years. I don't remember a point guard like this in the women's game that has the ability to pass people open the way that Caitlin Clark does.
Matt, there was a play, it was either the Southeast Louisiana game or the Georgia game. I can't remember the first 2 rounds that they played in Iowa City. And she's coming up the court, and I think it was either Kate Martin or Molly Davis. I can't remember who was bringing the ball up, but they were getting ready to pass the ball to Caitlin. And I could tell that she was going to pass the ball to McKenna Warnock for a 3. And she knew she was going to pass it before the ball had even been passed to Clark. She's out there. I wouldn't want to play chess against her, because I'm an idiot. I don't even know how to play chess, but she's one of those people that is literally 3 steps ahead. I mean, superhuman. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in Iowa. Anybody who listens to the show knows I'm not a homer.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of a kind. She is amazing. And everybody gets caught up on the logo 3s and all of that stuff.
Yep.
It's the passing and the way that she sees the court. And she says that comes from playing soccer when she was a kid. She played soccer when she was little, and that taught her angles and how to see.
I love it. How tall are you?
Depends on what come and go I'm walking out of, Dave. They got
just give me an approximate height.
6'3".
6'3". Good. So we got a power forward too to go along with the rest of the program. I didn't realize you were that tall. It's the first time I've actually seen you. I've talked to you off and on for a year. It's the first time I saw you.
I was very concerned that Farra could get all the chins.
That's fine. You got the shot perfect. You're in line.
You got the hat here. I am a free agent, by the way. If Stevens and Benson and those guys are watching,
we're working on getting you everywhere. Because you're in Iowa and we're everywhere, so we can kind of merge the two.
No, not going there.
What are you doing?
Shut up.
He's trying to get me in trouble.
What
are you doing? Oh, goodness.
Sorry. Last question from me, Brommelkamp. So we're going to, the plan is to bring the BVB on the road. We'd like to take the Bostonian versus the Book 2 different places. We bring Vegas to the people right here on the YouTube channel, on the podcast, on the replay on Sports Grid. But if we come to Iowa, where are we going? That's I need to know what our, if we come, not to the come and go, just come to Iowa to see you and you take us, where are we going to go? Maybe either do a show, have a meal. What are we going to do in Iowa?
Get the swarm. Let's go to a swarm gathering.
I mean, yeah. Talk to Perrault lived here. Perrault worked here. He knows what.
I know.
And I'll tell you what.
He knows everything, Todd. I'm asking you. You're there. I don't want to ask him. I already hear enough shit from him. I'm asking you.
We can do the Field of Dreams thing. We can go see some minor league baseball games. We can
see
Tenderloin. Go get you a
Yes.
tenderloin.
No, I want to take Dave to the butter cow. Dave needs
At
to
the
see the butter
fair?
cow.
Come
on.
That's the local guy. See?
Oh, the butter
That's
cow
the
is
local
cool.
guy.
Come on now. That's fun.
You guys come to Iowa. I'll figure out a way to make it worth your while. And Dave, you were talking about Wrigley Field last week. I got to get you to Wrigley Field. You and me, Wrigley Field. Let's make it happen. But you got to wear the hat you're wearing right now. I love that logo.
You love the old pirate logo?
Yep.
The old
Love
Bucko. The Bucko logo.
All right. Well, we'll do that. That sounds like a plan. But
what's the best game on Iowa's?
Perrault said Wrigley Field is overrated.
It is. What's the best game on Iowa's football schedule at home this year?
Penn State.
I don't have it in front of me, but it's not exactly a
because I'm going to go to
I'm
going to go to the Colorado Nebraska game in Boulder, and so I'm going to try to get Dave, and we'll try to get the brigade, and I'm trying to figure out if we all can go there. So if you go to the Colorado Nebraska game, we can go see Dion play the Huskers, and then figure out a way. Can we go to Iowa Penn State, and Dave can see Penn State. I can get back to an Iowa football game.
Penn State is in State College this year.
Oh, sorry.
They're home.
There.
They got
maybe we go there. Maybe we go
they
to
got
Penn
Michigan.
State.
They got Michigan State. They got Purdue. They got Minnesota. You could come from Minnesota, October 21st, Floyd of Rosedale.
I'm not going after the pig and freezing my ass off watching the pig get fought for.
October, it's not bad.
November.
Go to November 4th. They play Northwestern at Wrigley Field. You could kill two birds with one stone.
Really?
Yeah.
A regular season Big Ten games being played at Wrigley.
Yeah. Wrigley Field's going to get used in November. I'm really excited about it.
Genius idea is that? Goodness gracious! The Cubs won't be playing in there. Yeah, be available.
Not at all.
That the Cubs won't be doing it. Todd, thank you for everything you've done with us in the brigade, in the chat, and everything else. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your time today.
Anytime, guys. I owe you a lot.
It's Todd Brommelkamp, KGYM Radio. Listen to him in Iowa and Iowa City and Cedar Rapids on the FM dial over there and the AM dial as well here.
Does a great job on his show.